This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/Andrew and enter promo code Andrew at checkout.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew here, and of course I'm joined by the one, the only, Mr. Paul Thorod. How you doing, Paul?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How's everything?
Pretty good.
How was your week? I always ask you because you always seem like you're running out of time. You're like 5 minutes. You just need 5 more minutes.
Actually, when you called me, I was surprised it was already 3 o'clock.
You're the hardest working man I know.
The day always gets away from me. Today is actually a good example. Like I woke up, whole day in front of me. I got some stuff I want to get done, no problem.
But you don't work late, right? Like I've tried to figure out.
I don't work at night.
Yeah,
well,
like I've tried to figure out
say,
when I could message you, like with the time frame. I know it can't be before like 8 o'clock, and it should never be after like 6.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if you do it at other times. I'm just not there.
Yeah, you're just never there. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't work every night, but I would say 2-3 nights a week. If my wife is out doing something, she runs errands, driving the kids around, or is doing things with her friends. She's like in writers' clubs and whatever. Yeah, I mean, I'll sit in front of the TV and I'll work on stuff because I do stuff that's like some of the stuff I do is not like writing. It's the stuff that I have to do so I can write about it, and some of that stuff takes a lot of time. One of the things I've been working on, actually, it's funny how long ago this is now, because throughout this year, a couple of times I've gone to Windows 8 PCs and tried to work up this clean PC thing like I did for 8.1 and for 7, and it is freaking impossible. And I wasted almost all day Friday, almost all day Saturday, convinced I would be able to write something up Saturday at the latest, and I still haven't done it because now I've found one thing where something actually worked, and I'm not so sure. I want to be really clear about it, but it's a lot of time. Like these computers, they update really slowly. You have to upgrade to 8.1 or do whatever you're doing and do restore and reset it, and they take forever. So
Also, you're taking notes while you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
So
but it's not direct writing. Like a lot, sometimes like I can, we'll say that like I've got these things over here on the side. You can't really see them, but I work on this stuff and it's doing its thing. And so if I'm in here during the day, like I'll write on other stuff. I'll write about other things. And I have to keep going back, make sure it keeps going, see what's happening. And
it's a lot of work.
It's work. It's what it's work. It's what I should say. It's what passes for work in this modern age. I'm not like tilling a field or anything.
Yeah,
like
but I mean, it's still work though. You still have to put thought behind what you're doing. I mean, you write. You're a writer. You have a successful, a highly successful blog. People go there all the time, and people go there for information. It's not like me where I'm tweeting about pro wrestling on Monday nights. That's my late night, Paul.
Sure.
I'm tweeting about men in their underwear. Essentially, that's what I do for a living. That and I talk about that, and I talk to you.
Sure.
So that says a lot about you, doesn't it?
I am also a man in my underwear.
Yeah.
So maybe there's
there's a connection.
There's some symbiosis there.
We're getting closer to the Windows 10 launch, and there's still a lot of questions that people are asking. And a lot of it seems to be over the phone, right? Because I guess this is the best hint at this is not happening now. It's not going to happen during the launch or at launch. It's going to happen sometime later because we still don't have answers. Yeah. I haven't run the beta yet. Is it totally unstable?
I would not run it yet.
You would not run it?
No.
Yeah.
My phone, my main phone just got hosed by this thing. I had to.
Just now?
Last night. I mean, I knew it was coming. I don't know. I think what happened was, so I have a Lumia 930. And so sometime months ago, I must have installed the Windows Insider app on it, expecting to, update to the beta when it came out. And then that first beta that came out was only for a handful of phones. And so, and then I found it, it was kind of a stink bomb and I kind of forgot about it. And then a later beta, which I want to say was from a couple of months ago, was the one where they blew it out to virtually every supported Lumia phone in existence, except for a small handful of phones, one of which was the 930. And by that point, I knew that I didn't want this on my main phone, and I stopped thinking about it. And so, I installed it on other phones and all this other stuff. Well, with the latest build, they applied it to the 930, and I never took the app off or thought about it. And so I got this message that, hey, you're ready for an update. And you can kind of not now it, for a while, not now, not now, not now. But after a period of time, it just goes.
And it just does it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it happened overnight. So someone was asking me about this, like, could I, cancel this out? And it's like, once it's like a countdown for a nuclear bomb, like once it's in the air, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. So now that, how bad is it now?
That's awful. It's destroyed.
Like what's like everything? Just.
Yeah. I mean, the performance is non-existent. I mean, here, this, I won't be able to hold it here long enough, but,
what does that say?
It says loading.
Okay.
And you're probably wondering, like, what
are you loading
app or whatever is it trying to load? The start screen.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, I don't think I can hold my hand in the air long enough for you to see the start screen, but it will eventually.
Are most people experiencing these problems, or is it just, because I would imagine that since the hardware is the same and everything is the same, you would have the same experience, that awful experience all around. But I talk to people all the time, and they tell me that they're fine. They don't have any issues with theirs.
Those people are wrong.
Yeah.
And, maybe I actually call them wishful thinkers. And I love their, their optimism and all that. But no, there's all kinds of things wrong with it. It's just it's not in very good shape.
I guess if it's your secondary phone, then there's no, you're not really going to suffer as much as you would.
Yeah,
that's your main driver.
that's the point. But even on my secondary phones, like I actually, here it is. The start screen came up. I mean, look how stupid this looks. Like gigantic tiles. It's awful.
They're gonna have. So
I feel bad.
I mean, I would hope that they get this released by October.
I think that's probably the right time frame. Yeah. I'm sorry. This is so distracting to me. I spent a good part of today offloading the photos from this phone just in case, because I can tell I'm going to need to wipe this thing.
Totally blow it out.
Yeah. And I've had to switch to a different phone because, I can't trust this thing. It doesn't work.
I actually, I had a phone issue today with the LG G2. I wanted to, I'm not using it. It's not my main phone anymore. So I just let it sit there. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I should just wipe everything out and get rid of the root and get rid of the ROM I have on there and just start over and get like the stock, LG experience.
Yep.
And do the update to Lollipop. So I go through the whole thing. I go through the tools to unroot it and install everything. And then I realize how awful this thing is. Once I put it back the way it was supposed to be, and what they did, they skinned it with this ridiculous skin and this crazy, notification bar now, where it looks, it's not the pure Android experience, and it's the most awful thing in the world. Like, it has, normally, let me see if I could pull this up. Like, normally you have like that back button, the home button, and then the there's like another one, the options.
The button.
There's like four of them, and none of them means anything. It's like a triangle, a circle.
Yeah, that's Android.
An
5.
X, and
yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know what this is.
Right.
Like, what does the circle do? What does this one do?
Actually, let me look at this one. I think I have one right here. So let's bring this thing up.
It wasn't a stock Android one. Like I obviously have it on.
Well, no,
this
I mean
one,
in the stock Android 5 Plus UI, right? It's a triangle, a circle, and a square.
Yeah.
And it really, I mean, this is the type of graphic user experience, I don't know what you call this, design that Microsoft is trying right now with Windows 10, and I really don't like it because it's inscrutable. I mean, the triangle's back. That's easy enough. The circle is, I guess, home. And then the square is that app list thing. And in Android 5, it's they're like Rolodex cards or whatever.
Yeah, and then they have like long holds, and then you have like a short hold and like a double tap, and it does something else. So like you
got to be able to like overload it.
You know
for
what
some
it
reason.
is? Depending on the phone that you're using, it's going to have different functionality. Each of those like commands. So if I double tap on my phone now, my Samsung, the double tap on that triangle will do something totally different than it would on the LG.
Maybe. Okay, I don't know about that part of it, but
so
I just think it's bad UI. I mean,
I don't know. You know, the last version of Android grew on me. We were talking earlier. I really like the 640, the Lumia 640. And you wrote a post about it saying that it was going to be here on Friday.
It is, and it is on Cricket, but not the XL.
Not the XL. Okay,
right.
That's the one I want.
It's here now. Yeah, it's okay. You know, it's a kind of a nice mid-level phone.
Because the last one I have is like the 530, the Lumia 530.
That little tiny.
Yeah. That's the last Lumia I had.
No,
I know. They sold so many of those things. Do you have it with you now?
Yeah,
you do.
It's a like I don't know if you can. It's interesting because I just looked at an Android. So this Android device is an Nexus 5, right? So it's a couple of years old, I guess. You can kind of see they're similarly sized. I mean, looking at it dead on, the screen's beautiful. It's get off to the side, it's not as great, but the performance is really good. I mean, this is a nice one. If I could have used my AT&T SIM in this, I would have run around with it as my main phone for a few weeks. In fact, that would have been very useful right now since my other phone is just sitting there sad.
But it's only on Cricket, so.
Yeah, it's locked to Cricket. My understanding of Cricket is an AT&T subletter. I'm not sure what their official term is, but my understanding of this is that if you... I don't know. Actually, I thought maybe 2-3 months down the road they would unlock it for you or something like that.
You probably could do it now. No,
I don't know.
Like on Android, they allow you to change a lot of those settings.
Oh no, not in the phone OS. You couldn't do it. This is coming to AT&T though. I don't know if you saw that tweet today. And the XL is coming to AT&T as well. But I don't think this is hitting AT&T until June. And the XL, it's completely up.
Yeah. So by that. At that point,
by that point, they probably will have announced whatever flagships are coming in the fall or whatever. I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I think the nice thing about this phone is that it's about $120. It's not unlocked, but it's no contract.
So I mean, we're starting to see more and more of these, right? These unsubsidized unlock, phones that you could pretty much take and use via the AT&T Go plans or regular plan. And Asus is really betting on this being their entry into the smartphone market in the U.S. They've done well in Asia and overseas, but they really haven't been able to do anything here. They announced these Zen phones a while ago, and they're looking at these. I'm looking at this. The specs look great. They're 4 gigs of RAM. These phones, $100 to $200. So. Between them doing this and all the other Android phones, I mean, there's tons of them at this point that are unsubsidized, and Windows Phone, having all these inexpensive phones, how much of the market, if the smartphone market is going to change over the next year or so? I mean, do you see it changing at all, or do you think it's just going to be a bunch of lower end phones and that's it?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. So, when I probably told this story previously, but when I bought the iPhone 6 Plus last fall, I did it on one of those Next plans, right, which AT&T has. The Next plans are sort of a halfway house between full-blown subsidized and full-blown you're paying for it outright.
Verizon, right? I forgot what Verizon calls it. I'm on that Verizon version.
Has one as well.
Yeah, I'm on the Verizon version now.
So, and I think that's how the United States gets to these true non-subsidized plans, baby steps, right? But the thing is, my intention all along was to pay that thing off at some point and get that additional amount off my bill, because my bill is whatever it is per month, and then having it on the Next plan added another, I think it was $45. It was a lot of money per month, So I had paid for that thing for, let's say, at least 4 or 5 months, 6 months, something. I mean, it was, when did it come out? September, October, whatever it was. So I this was maybe a couple months ago. I paid it off, and I owed. It's granted. I got a 6 Plus, so it's more expensive right there. And then I got the mid-level one, I think 64 gigs of storage.
So you paid like $2,000 for your iPhone?
No, but like my payoff amount I'm forgetting. I'm going to be wrong with the math, but I want to say it was like $650 or something. And I was like, wait, what? or $600 or something. And I was like, really? And it was just really expensive. And I think that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of, in the United States in particular, we're very willing to mortgage the future. That's all we do. It's what we know.
You're absolutely right. Everything is on debt. Credit cards.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and I joke about this all the time. My wife said, she said, think of future Paul. And I said, fuck that guy. And that's the way I think we think,
It's the whole lease mentality, right? You're essentially leasing a phone.
The point being, in other words, let's say you really want a new Mercedes-Benz, and an entry-level C-Class Mercedes, like a nice one. It's going to be about $45,000. Most people don't have $45,000 in cash.
Sitting in the bank, yeah.
Yeah, and so we have options with cars. Most people would actually, I don't know most people, but some big audience of people would lease that vehicle in a bid to keep the monthly cost down, right? And so maybe it's $300 a month or whatever the price of that thing is. And then if you wanted to actually buy it outright, where you would put down some money on a lease, but the amount you'd put down on a lease would be fairly small. The amount you would put down on a purchase could be whatever you wanted, I guess, but you would want to make it higher to keep the payments down. And so maybe you threw $10,000 on it if you had that, and then you mortgaged essentially the other
the rest of
$35,000 over maybe 5 or 6 years, right? Which you can do. It's a lot of money per month, and if you go and you can get the payoff value of that car at any time, and in a year from now or 2 years from now, maybe the cost is $25,000. It's still a lot of money, and I think for a lot of people, that's something they could not buy. And yet they own it, sort of, right? Now they have it anyway. Theirs, and I think phones are just the same thing. An iPhone 6 Plus that costs $850 retail, confronted by that cost, no one would buy one, which, by the way, we know because when the iPhone first came out, remember, it was $600, $700, whatever dollars.
And they dropped the price immediately.
The thing, it tanked. And it wasn't until they really dropped the price and then, of course, expanded it to other markets and carriers that the iPhone finally took off. So,
but we're also a society of we want the latest and the greatest constantly.
That's what I mean. In other words, this gets us what we want. Most people, I could hold up this phone and say, this Lumia 640 thing is $120. Anyone listening to this could afford to buy this right now. You do a pay-as-you-go plan on Cricket. It's AT&T's network. It's full LTE. It works great. This is a solid. It's solid. It's not cracky and junky like the 535 or it's a nice piece of machinery. It's not a beautiful camera. It's not the latest, greatest processor. There are things that are not perfect about it, but it's a solid device. This would be a great phone for most people. I think most people here in the United States would kind of nod their head and say, yeah, I'm sure you're right. And then they go mortgage an iPhone because that's what we do. We're not going to, no one's downsizing here. You know what I mean? Like, we don't do that. We buy McMansions, we buy giant pickup trucks, whether we haul anything or not. We buy things we can't afford. I mean, it's just the truth of this country. And I do think there'll be more and more options toward the type of thing you're talking about, these fully non-subsidized things. And we see that, we see it happening. It's possible. Some people do it. It's ironically people who have more money tend to be the people who do it right now. The people who are buying these phones, I mean, no one is buying these phones, but I mean, that small audience of people who are buying such phones, whether they're low-end Lumias or Android devices or whatever, or a low-end iPhone, like an old iPhone that you can still buy, are basically poor people,
But you know what? But let's say the 640 Lumia, right? The 640 that's coming out, or it is out. For not us. For someone that's buying a cell phone, they want to do all the stuff that everybody's doing on these, have a couple apps and do the Facebook thing. How much of a different experience is it going to be for them between that and, let's say, like the higher end Lumia or just anything, any kind of comparison like that, where you get the mid range compared to the high end,
right.
And there's a big price jump if you're buying it flat out. If I'm paying $120 for a phone, and I don't have a $40 or $30 monthly charge for that phone, that's going to make a big difference over 2 years.
Well, I mean, so this is one of those things. Just think like the Surface 3 is an example of this kind of thing in the computer world, right? People will say, I really want to get a Surface Pro 3 for my kid who's going to college. 4-year school, typically. Surface Pro 3 would probably get him through school, no problem. But get a Surface 3 for less money. It's very high quality, much of the same quality you see in a Surface Pro 3. It's less expensive. What do you think about that? Well, I don't know. This is an unknown quantity. We don't know that it just came out. I don't know if it's, will this Atom processor and 4 gigs of RAM be enough 3-4 years down the road? It's hard to say. Will a Lumia 640 last you the 2 years of your contract? If you actually, you wouldn't be typically getting a contract. This is pretend,
Yeah.
You're going to spend $120 on this. You want to rationalize this over 2 years. I'm going to do a pay-as-you-go kind of thing on Cricket. Well, 2 years. Is this going to last 2 years? I think so. I mean, and again, I don't know. It's brand new. I have a lot of experience with these types of phones. I think so. Would a similar Android device also last that amount of time? Like a Moto, what's the small one called? The C or something?
Moto
G.
C or the Moto X or the Moto
I think E and G, maybe. Whatever those things are. Probably, yeah, probably. There are phones that are cheaper than these, right? You can buy like a Lumia 635 for $40 on Amazon, no contract, right? I mean, why not just get one of those? Well, now we're getting into that kind of squishy area. So it's cheap, but is that thing a good value? I mean, ultimately the answer is no, not if you intend to use it as your phone. It's a great value if you just want to test Windows, Phone 10. It's a great.
Also, when it comes to these phones, and something that I noticed, what is that? There we go.
Yep, it is a question.
There you go. This is the
yep,
question
it's a
right
question.
there. What I've noticed is that when I actually upgraded prior to my upgrade because they wanted me on their like next plan, whatever it is,
Yes.
So,
but by the way, as you might know, I don't know Verizon, but on AT&T, when you do that, your little contract just got pushed out again, right? I mean,
it got pushed out. Yeah, another
one of the
2
many
years.
reasons they want you to do this.
So, but what I noticed from it, and I did a lot of homework on this because I didn't understand how you're paying a monthly fee and you don't pay anything up front, and it's this whole thing,
Right.
At the end of the day, it comes out to about the same thing as if you were paying, but it's
just a
spread
different
out.
way to
It's a different way to take the
rationalize
money. So you're not paying anything up front for the phone, but you're paying it in the monthly
more per
plan.
month.
But what they do, they lower the monthly plan. It's actually, I'm saving $10 a month by doing this.
But for your carrier, it's probably a better deal because they are beholden to, as Apple would be, as Microsoft has been in history throughout, Windows releases, by you release a major new product and there's a big bang. And then it falls off to some really low level, and it is at that really low level for a long period of time, 11 months or whatever, or maybe in Apple's case, 6 months. This evens that out, right? The amount of money that these companies are taking in is now more even month to month. There's still going to be a bump, when there's a product release, obviously, but it's not going to be the giant mountain and the giant valley. It's going to be closer, and then the middle is not so far away from those highs and lows. And I think that's what they're looking for. It's why Microsoft, well, it's not why, but it's one of the reasons why Microsoft wants to do subscription software.
Yeah,
it's more.
It keeps you as a the numbers stay the same.
Oh, and it locks you in. Yeah,
it locks you in, and you can kind of predict what the numbers are going to be in a year or two. I
mean, ideally, you should be able to jump from carrier to carrier, whatever has the best deal that month. You should be able to use the same phone. You shouldn't, you should own that thing outright. Yeah. It shouldn't matter. And so, I'm lucky, and you are. I mean, that we could, if we wanted to, buy a device outright. We could get it unlocked. Like I got my iPhone unlocked after I paid for it. And so what that means is I can take this thing to Europe if I decide to go this summer and put a SIM in from some other carrier, and it will work fine. And so there are advantages to that. But it's like safety features in cars or whatever other comparison you want to make. Those advantages are typically made available to the richest people, not to everybody. And I think it kind of stinks that this system, we're stuck in this system in the United States that's based on a small percentage of people who can afford, that don't care how much a cell phone costs.
See, but it's also changing. I think what we're going to see now is a lot of these secondary brands, like an Asus, for example, right? Or what is it, Huawei?
Huawei. Yes.
Is that the name of that company?
I think that's exactly right. When you say Huawei, I thought of the
grocery
Pennsylvania
store
company for some reason. The Chinese cell phone carrier.
There are rumors that they're going to be the next Nexus device. So,
that would be fantastic.
I mean, there were some rumors coming in that it's either going to be them or LG's, but it's interesting to see them kind of shining, and their entire company, the entire reason why they've done well in the States is because of these pay-as-you-go lower end. You're just buying it for $150, and if you don't care beyond
honestly, I'm sure, again, I hate to keep focusing on the poor people aspect of this, but I really do believe that part of the reason for their success, or for any company's success in that market, is there is a segment of the population. You have to have a phone, right? I mean, you're such a pariah if you don't have a smartphone, right? But they really can't afford it. And I guess this pay-as-you-go thing gives them the option. If the month goes south, they just kind of do without it for a while. They could probably take the data off it, but just keep using it as a phone, that kind of thing. It's sad. I mean, I wish that this was just the system. And I also think, that iPhone that I use as an example, that thing didn't cost Apple $850 to make, right? It probably cost them $200 to make. And what I'd like to see is that this change in the system changes the way that these things are priced, because I'm amazed by how much money you're able to charge for a phone. That's really just it's not actually worth that much money.
The OnePlus is a great example of a flagship. Obviously the camera's not great, but the components inside, they are the highest.
It could be, right?
It could be.
That's random. I mean, they could have picked a better camera.
They could have picked a better camera, but regardless, it's a high-end phone. It's a flagship phone, and it's $200.
Yeah.
And you're getting 64 gigs. So companies are capable of doing this. There's no difference between my Samsung here, other than the camera being better, obviously. But is it $400 better? Should it be $400 better? Like an iPhone and the OnePlus. Should it be $400 more? It shouldn't, but that's just how it works.
Is an iPhone 6 $400 or $500 better than this Lumia 640? No.
I'm hoping.
Is it better? Yes.
Google, and it's so disappointing because Google had such a chance, and they were really on the right path with this Nexus line, where they were doing the unsubsidized thing for $299.
Last year, they replaced these wonderful devices, Nexus 5 and Nexus 7, both of which were notable for both their quality and for their low price, right? With devices, the Nexus 9 tablet that you've never seen anyone own. No one ever talks about it.
Not one person.
I have one. It's the most worthless machine. I don't like it. I don't want to use it. I don't understand what the point of it is. And then that phablet, the Nexus 6, right?
Yeah.
Which is not subsidized, but is really expensive. And to me, that kind of, it pixelizes the Nexus line, right? You think about like the Chromebook Pixel, or this $1,000 plus Chromebook, which is a ludicrous assertion. It's like spending $15,000 on a bicycle or something. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The Nexus line always made sense. It was the best of all worlds, right? Pure Google experience
with the best
high quality hardware, low cost. It was such a great combination. And it was kind of showing the world that such a thing was possible, except I guess these things didn't sell very well. But you know what? I don't think the Nexus 7 and the Nexus 9 are selling very, very well either. Nexus 6.
Yeah, it's the 5, 6, and 9. I don't know anybody with
Nexus 5
Nexus
is
9.
Gone, right? So they don't even sell those.
No, you can still buy it. Oh, no, you cannot buy it. No, not anymore. They took it out.
Yeah, I thought they were gone.
Yeah.
So the rumor is they're going to bring back a Nexus 5. And I actually think it's very important for the smartphone market for them to have a non-phablet phone as well. I think I get them having a phablet, but there really should be a new version of the Nexus 5.
I understand them having a phablet, and I understand it being a little bit more expensive than the 5, but a couple $100 more expensive. You're talking, how much is it unsubsidized? I'm trying to find the Nexus 6. I'm trying to find the pricing.
No, it's crazy expensive. I mean, that stuff is in a different place now. Like, it's not on play.google.com.
Yeah, it's you got to get it on AT&T and
no. Well,
it's $700.
I think
the Nexus 6 is $700.
Yeah, so that's expensive.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are these things? Phones. Yeah, I mean, it's just too much. The Nexus 5, I think, was $300.
$299. Right? Yeah, $299.
Yeah.
And
that's
then they
the right
lowered
price. By the way, this thing's completely unlocked. It worked fine in Europe last year. No problems. I didn't have to call AT&T and beg them, hope that they agreed, to unlock the thing. Yeah. Nexus 6 starts at $649. It's over double the base price of the previous model, And I'm sure it's a wonderful phone. That's not really the point. It's just that they turned it into something else. Before, this was kind of like Android for everybody,
Yeah, and it became something else now.
They really need that. I would argue they even need more than two. They need a range of these things, and it's okay for them
for the
to have
phone
this
or for the tablet.
for the phone.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever found the right mix on the tablet. The Nexus 7 was too small. I kind of what I really wanted was like a Nexus 8,
Yeah.
and then they come out with the Nexus 9, and it's like, really, because I think the Nexus 7, I want to say it was 229, and it was such a neat little device. The Nexus 9 it's worthless. I really don't like it.
I'm surprised that we still, there was an article I was reading last week. Now we're talking about tablets and what people are buying, and everybody thinks, the iPhone, the iPad, or like the Samsung Galaxy Tab, and it's not those. Yeah. It's those like Rite Aid and CVS tablets that they sell. Those like no-name tablets, and you look at the specs on some of these things, and they're great. I mean, the specs are really high up there, and you're paying, let's say, $150 for it, but who's buying these things? Like, who's going into a drugstore and buying a tablet?
Right. It's like, I need to get some deodorant and shaving cream, and oh look, there's a tablet.
But people are, because apparently they're taking over the market. The Android market is getting saturated with these, white label. I think they call them white label, tablets that are made from who knows what company.
This is exactly what happened to PCs, right? And the dark side of this kind of open marketplace where anyone can make one of these things is that everyone does make one of these things, and most of that stuff is crap. Samsung tablets are probably the best sellers of the mainstream, Android tablets. And honestly, I mean, have you ever seen one of these things in the world? Like, they're just not really kind of out there, and it's weird. Like, they just announced. I'm trying to find them. Yeah, like.
White box. Sorry, they're called white box.
White box,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So you can buy a Samsung Galaxy Tab 8-inch tablet, 16 gigs of storage, which is not much, but again, $229, right? That's what Nexus should be. There should be one of those.
I mean, these white box tablets have overtaken the iPad sales.
Yeah, well, of course.
I'm trying to find a brand.
This is the barbarians at the gates,
Yeah.
They're called a horde for a reason.
Okay, the Onda V989.
The Onda?
The Onda. Onda. ONDA.
I've never
2
heard
gigs, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gig storage, Retina display. It's an iPad clone.
What's the model number?
The ONDA V989. Take a look at this. It's an octa-core processor. I don't know what processor is the A80T.
It's an octa-core. I love that term. Yeah, it's a total.
It's an iPad. I mean, it looks exactly like an iPad.
Mini clone or iPad. I guess iPad. Yeah, iPad clone. It is literally an iPad clone. That's hilarious.
I mean, look at the icons.
Right. I mean, even the screen is an iPad.
I'm gonna try to pull this up. What did I say the name is? The Onda
ONDA V989.
V989.
That's hilarious. Do they sell a mini version of one of these? I would buy one of these.
Yeah, I think this is the mini version. No,
it's not. It's 9.7. I mean, I'm thinking there must be a. Well, how much is? Well, first of all, by the way, this thing costs $179. That is amazing.
Look at this thing. Hold on, I'm gonna pull this up so you can see the crazy great graphics. Look, is that Halo?
Well, it looks like when this is a company that's in the business of ripping off everything. So yeah, it looks like Halo.
Yeah. Look at this thing. It looks like an iPad.
I'm looking to see if they have a. They do have they have 8-inch and 7-inch.
8 megapixel rear-facing camera, 2 megapixel front-facing camera. USB 3.0, 60% faster than USB 2.0.
Sure.
It's running Android 4.4.2. I don't know
what is this? Is this like a Taiwanese company or something?
I'm sure. I even like how it looks like the Intel logo. Look at this. Like the Intel chip.
That's beautiful.
Like the Pentium.
Even the chip is a ripoff.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's just hilarious.
That's freaking awesome. This thing is awesome.
Let's see. Do they? They actually make a Windows tablets too.
I mean,
you can't. Jeez. They have a. This thing we're looking at, you can get for as little as $149.
Can you get it with Windows? Oh my God, you can.
Yes, you can. $179.
Here it is. Here's the Windows version. The V919.
8.9. So they have different sizes. They
Look
have
at
a lot of Windows machines.
Wait a minute. Is this Windows or Android? There's like an Android logo on this. What does this mean?
It can do either one.
Oh my God, you could switch. This is freaking awesome.
They have rip-offs of the, that cover that Apple has. It folds over as a kickstand.
You know what? I want to get one of these.
I kind of do too.
Yeah,
I wish they had a mini tablet. Is there a way to?
This thing is running. So it's running full-fledged Windows because it's a Intel chipset. It's a Bay Trail.
Yeah, the V919.
Yeah.
Windows 8 plus Android, Retina screen, dual boot, 64 gigs,
Intel.
$199.
Yeah, this thing is awesome.
That's funny.
I may have to order this.
You can get. They have an 8-inch IPS screen Android tablet, $69.
No.
Yep.
This is crazy.
That's amazing. It's only 16 gigs of storage.
Yeah, the fact that I could do dual booting on this thing. Who knows how bad I mean, it could be really good. Who knows?
Well, it's probably not going to be really good.
I mean, how bad could it be, right?
Sure.
Honestly, if it has 4 gigs of RAM, the thing has 4 gigs of RAM and it's running an Intel chipset inside.
Yep. Yeah.
How awful could it possibly be?
But some of these things, like for example, this tablet I'm looking at now, like this is what it says. It features an all-winner, and that's all one word, by the way, A33 quad-core processor. You know, the all-winner processors. Remember those guys?
Yeah, which one is the all-winner?
The all-winner.
Guys, the website is onda-tablet.com. I know a lot of people are asking for this thing.
If you look this processor up, what you discover is that it was the world's first $4 quad-core tablet processor.
Awesome. That's freaking awesome. That's for $140. You know what? Not bad. Oh, they have a 3G model also, Paul. They have a 3G model of the V919 Air. So it's I guess it's a MacBook. It's a iPad Air ripoff, but it does dual booting of Windows and Android. Or you could get just the Android model.
This is bizarre.
Freaking awesome. Freaking awesome.
How did we get on this topic?
I have no idea how we went down that rabbit hole, but
that's really funny.
Yeah, we should take a little break and talk about our sponsor, and that's Casper. Guys, if you're looking for a new mattress, these guys have really taken over the market when it comes to this. Their marketing is everywhere now. They're all over the subway. I had people over for my birthday on Sunday, my family, and next thing I know, everybody's in my room just bouncing on my bed because they wanted to check this thing out because they've heard about it from all the ads. It's great. I've had them since, I want to say November. They shipped me a box in November, and the thing is, it comes in a box. So it was literally sitting in my kitchen for, I want to say 2-3 months because I didn't have a bed to put this thing on. It was a king size that they sent me. So it just sat there, and I finally took it out, and I set it up. I'm like, how great could it be? It came in a box. You know what? This is the best mattress I've slept on. It's using premium grade latex and memory foam. It's a very comfortable sleep, very good. And here's the great part about this. Let's say you're looking for a new mattress, and you want to try them out. A lot of people give you a couple days, maybe a month, maybe 2 months to try it out. These guys give you 100 days to try it out. They send it to you for free, and you could send it back to them, no pain at all. They'll just take it right back. 100 days. I mean, you're pretty much sleeping half the year on this thing. Casper.com/Andrew is the website. You could use the promo code Andrew and get $50 off your sale. So prices vary from $500 to $950 for a king size, which is actually really good considering I paid about $2,000 for another brand that I'm not going to mention here, and it was the worst bed I ever had. For 6 years, I slept on this thing and it was miserable. It was utterly the worst thing in the world. And also, their mattresses are all made here in the U.S. So Casper.com/Andrew. You could use promo code Andrew at checkout and get $50 off your purchase when you buy at Casper. Guys, don't listen to me. I think that if I'm crazy, I'm crazy. But I'm telling you right now, this is the best mattress I've ever slept on. And that's not even in my copy, guys. Speaking from the heart here. Casper.com/Andrew. Enter promo code Andrew at checkout, get $50 off. I want to thank Casper for supporting What the Tech and supporting the GFK Network. Really good people. Really good people. I'm all about the Casper mattress, Paul. I'm all about it.
We have one as well.
Do you really?
Yep.
How awesome is it?
Actually, I don't. I should. When I say we, I mean my son sleeps on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
I actually, no kidding. I mean, I had a Kingsdown. Now I can mention another company, but I had a Kingsdown, and they're like the Bentley of mattresses. I got it from Sleepy's like 6-7 years ago, and I paid, I want to say like $2,200 for this stupid thing. And for 6 years, I was dying every night. It was the most uncomfortable bed I've ever slept on in my life. It was way too soft. I couldn't sleep at all. Every hour I was getting up. Within like a week, my sleeping habits totally changed on this mattress, on the Casper. So, worked for me. Paul, let's talk about a couple of questions from the viewers that we got.
Yep.
One is about Microsoft pushing updates to Windows phones.
Yep.
What do we know?
Not a lot. So there's been a lot of silliness about Microsoft supposedly, bypassing carriers, and we've kind of heard this one before. That's not happening. Carriers are part of the story, and so Microsoft told me and Mary Jo Foley when we were out in Redmond in January that they had some plan that was going to enable them to deliver updates to Windows Phone users more quickly than they can now. That they would divulge those details later in time. Somebody pointed me to a session that they had at WinHack, which occurred back in March in China. And there was a guy from Microsoft China who talked about this very topic. And he said, well, what he did was his presentation was aimed at Microsoft's hardware partners. In other words, you're a company that might want to sell Windows phones. What does it look like? How do these things come together? And so it didn't talk a lot about the carrier part of it, but the carrier is part of it, right? And so if you think about, like, for example, the 640, right? To us, this thing is a Lumia 640. It's a thing, and the fact that this is sold by different carriers in different places around the world doesn't mean a lot to people. But the truth is, this is not one thing. This is one of many things that are called the Lumia 640. In this particular machine's case, there are dual SIM versions or LTE versions. There are LTE versions with dual SIM, but aside from that, I don't want to confuse that part of it.
Yeah.
If you sell this device on AT&T, if you sell this device on some carrier in the UK, some carrier in Germany, some carrier in France, whatever, those are all essentially different things from a servicing standpoint. Because you've got different groups of people that have their hands in the updating process. Microsoft is one of those people because they make the OS, of course. Microsoft in this case is the second one too because they make the hardware. But the old days this would be Lumia because they make the hardware. They have firmware updates, and then there's the carrier, and the carrier has their own specific updates, and they have their own specific needs. They want to test updates, make sure they're not abusing their network, and so on and so forth. All three of those entities, in this case it's just two, have a say in when updates go out on this phone. But the final arbiter of that is actually the carrier, at least under the types of subsidized plans like we've been talking about. It depends, again, on the market and so forth. If you buy this thing outright, if it's an open market phone, supposedly you'll get that thing right away because it doesn't matter what the carrier. You'll have to get it over Wi-Fi, but you will get this update. Without the carrier getting in the way. Again, supposedly. So what's changed with Windows 10? The truth is we don't know. I wish we knew. It's Microsoft is being very vague about it. My guess, it's an educated guess, but I want to be very clear that it's just a guess, is that as part of this servicing schedule, Microsoft I think they said 4 to 6 weeks plans to ship some update for Windows 10 Mobile, which is the version of Windows 10 going out to phones.
So, from that, I would take it as the way that they're updating bug fixes, security fixes, feature changes. It's going to be far quicker than what we
But how? The question is, how does that happen? And so we're working on a giant misconception that Microsoft has often had about carriers, which is that they give a crap about anything that anyone else thinks.
But regardless of the carriers part, Paul, they're saying that they're going to be pushing updates constantly. It's just going to be part of the servicing.
Let me explain. This is a theory, but it's based on things that Microsoft representatives have said, which is this. They have a beta program now that they're going to continue post Windows 10 release, right? The Insider program. The Insider program has what they call rings right now. There's 2 of them, fast ring and slow ring. And if depending on which ring you're in, you can get updates quickly or slowly, whatever. But when Windows 10 ships, they're going to have these rings for shipping, customers too. And I don't have the names in my head, but there's going to be like a standard servicing ring. There's going to be slower rings for businesses. So we're going to have multiple rings, and if you're in the Insider program, I think you're just going to get these updates day one, as you would if you're on the fast ring. What I think, and again, I'm just guessing here, but I think what they're going to do is ship updates to the fast ring.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, or before that time, because there are internal rings as well, they're going to ship them to the carriers and to the hardware makers. The hardware makers will come back with their own additions, of course, but when they get to the carriers, what they're going to say, I believe, is like, look, this thing's been out in the fast ring for 2 months. X number of million people are using it. We've had no reports of problems. You should be able to okay this. And I think some carriers will maybe move a little more quickly than they did in the past. The truth is, I don't think they care.
They don't give 2 shits.
I don't think they care. I really don't. And this is the same fundamental issue that got me into trouble on the day one of the Windows Phone 7 launch 5 years ago, where they were talking about this, and they talked about how AT&T in this case, or the carriers, were incented to do the right thing for customers. We all have the same goal. And I raised my hand. I said, no, you don't all have the same goal. You guys are selling a phone OS that you want to keep updated. That makes sense. I am a customer. I want the updates as well. That makes sense. But they make money when they sell phones.
Not when they update it.
They don't want to update things for free. Why would they go to the cost and expense of even testing these updates when they can just sell you a new phone and keep you at a certain level of functionality that they know works fine and doesn't abuse the network? And if you're upset because you want the new stuff, well, you can buy a new phone.
But doesn't
that's where all the new
Microsoft?
features are.
But isn't Microsoft in a closer, not exactly, but a closer situation to what Apple's in, where they control their hardware to an extent?
No, because look, there's a certain number of things you can do. You can separate some things out of the core OS and make them apps. We're very familiar with how apps are updated every single day. I don't care what kind of phone you have. Every day you have app updates.
Which Samsung is doing it on Android, actually. Same exact thing.
Yeah, everyone does it.
They've separated it into apps now.
Yeah, and that's how you bypass the carriers. But sometimes you have to do those low-level, security fixes, bug fixes, just general OS updates, whatever they may be. You have to go through the carrier. The carrier's not super interested in that happening, and it's like the thing we always talk about with Fios or Verizon just bought AOL, right? Why would they do that? Because they don't want to be a dumb pipe. It's like they refuse to understand that what they are is a dumb pipe. That's all you are, is a dumb pipe. It should not matter to you what I'm doing on this phone, as long as I'm staying within the confines of your data allotment. What's the difference? But they desperately want to be in on stuff. Like there are rumors about wireless carriers that want let's get rid of mobile ads, because we're selling these devices. The devices are going out in the world. They're used on our network, and money is being generated because of ads. And we're not seeing any of the money, but they're using our network. I mean, why? Maybe we should be the ones selling ads. It's like they can't stand the fact that they're just an Ethernet cable to the cloud, and they're fighting it. And I think they're going to fight this. I see no reason to believe that Windows 10 for phones is going to be any different.
So when it comes to Apple got this crazy deal, apparently.
Well,
I mean,
but you understand why, right?
Yeah, obviously they were able to pull
Everyone
together.
wants an iPhone.
Yeah, everybody wants an iPhone, but they were able to strong arm the carriers into saying like, no, we're going to control what we're doing because we're Apple. And
well, okay, but so sort of. I mean, if you go back to day one, when they got to what was the predecessor of AT&T called?
Singular.
Singular.
Yeah.
When they got to Singular, they had already been turned down by 2, if not 3, of the major carriers.
Nobody wanted them.
No, because Apple said, well, we have to control the whole process. And they were like, yeah, that's cute. We're not doing that. Singular needed that jump start. They needed something that would differentiate them. And they agreed to everything that Apple wanted. They were a gift to Apple, you know. And unfortunately, that set the stage for how Apple now approaches every other carrier, because when Singular AT&T's period of exclusivity ran out after whatever the time period was, 18 months, 2 years, whatever, they went to Verizon now. And they said, well, you see, we're kicking ass over on AT&T. Would you like the iPhone? And they said, yeah. And they said, well, then you have to accept these same terms. And by that point, they had no choice. They had to. I mean, they had to. And that's what because they can go to any wireless carrier in any country and say, do you want the iPhone? Yes. You have to agree to these terms. I can't do that.
Yeah,
Then
because
Verizon
wants their shitty caller ID. I'm cursing now. Look
well,
at that. We're getting adult here. They want their caller ID.
You can't be the one carrier that doesn't have iPhone.
Yeah.
You can't.
They want to charge you for visual voicemail. That's $2.99.
Yeah. I mean,
your phone could do it, by the way.
People often say, why can't Microsoft just get the same deal that Apple has? Because nobody wants a Windows phone. There's no leverage.
But see, they shouldn't care then. Then the carrier shouldn't care. Right? I mean, that's the other argument, that if nobody wants a Windows phone, they really shouldn't care that Microsoft is controlling the update. But with the Lumia, I mean, couldn't they do a deal where they say, okay, listen, guys, on our Lumias, we will control the updates, and on LG that just got Windows, you got a new Windows phone, or whoever else is doing it, you guys could deal with that.
Here's what I don't understand. Obviously, the issue is not just the bandwidth of the update, right? I mean, who cares? Like an OS update is not much bigger than a bunch of app updates, really. I mean, but let's, for whatever reason, AT&T says, look, you're not shipping your OS update over our network. Well, these people are on Wi-Fi for much of the day. I mean, they can get it then. And so the problem really has to do with control. It's like we have to test that thing because we need to make sure it's not doing anything that hampers the performance of our network, even though no one owns a Windows phone. No one would even notice. If this thing was sitting there doing torrenting all day long, who would even notice?
Not one.
No, really. I mean, really. Yeah. Like, it is kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is crazy. The whole thing, the fact that we cannot upgrade it on our own is crazy. So that LG that I have, you know how I did the update today? I plugged it into my laptop, to my Windows laptop. I have the LG mobile support tool, which you select the carrier and you select the model, and it says, "Oh, look, there's an update for your phone. There's a latest version for it. Would you like to install it on your phone?" Yes, I would. Hit the button. It did the download through the LG servers, through my internet. It has nothing to do with the phone, and it updated to the latest and the greatest. Why couldn't? I mean, obviously Verizon doesn't want you to do that, and there's testing that goes into it. But rather than using their pipes, if the argument is, well, it's going to use a lot of our bandwidth to update all these phones and to support it, why couldn't we do it that way? Why couldn't they say, okay, listen, for the first month of this release, this is how you're going to get it? It's still going to be a fraction of the people doing it, right?
Look, they're just in a delicate spot, because if the carriers turn on them, it's over. I mean, and we don't have that kind of system, like we were talking about earlier, where they, why don't they just sell signature edition Lumia phones on their website? Because nobody buys these phones. It just doesn't matter. Like, it's not going to help, that's the recipe for the end of times for them. That's how it ends, They have to bend over backwards and do what the carriers want. I'm sure they have all these great conversations where it's like, some guy from the carrier and some guy from Microsoft, they sit there and nod their heads a lot and agree, yep, the customer really matters, and this benefits everyone, and we have all this technology and blah, blah, blah. And then they ship phones that, like, the 1520 that doesn't have the wireless charging thing because AT&T's running on a different standard for wireless charging, and they want to push their bullshit technology. They don't allow you to have whatever the apps are for monitoring data or for monitoring storage or whatever, because they can't stand not to have control of everything. I mean, it's just, Apple is the thing they have to do because it's the deal with the devil. They have no choice. Android is the thing they really want, the carte blanche ability to do whatever the hell they want on a phone. And then Windows Phone's this other thing, and it's like, ugh, like they don't even want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I just don't see this changing. I just don't understand how it changes. I hope it does.
Yeah, I do too.
And I would just say, for Windows Phones people, just get on the insider thing and run it that way. You'll always be up to date.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the other option. At least Windows Phone users have that option.
Yeah, they do have that option.
Get in the Insider program and just upgrade it manually through the Insider program. I mean, that's how I did it. For Android, you don't really have that option, do you? I mean, you could root it, you could play with the ROM, but
That's not beyond the scope of most people's experiences or wants, you know.
So I got a message from somebody that works for the carriers just now. I'm not going to mention who it is, but he
Yep.
just messaged me during a rant. He works for one of the big two. And he said that the way that it works, LG will do the packaging and everything for this thing.
Yep.
Send it to Verizon. Verizon will do that testing. Then sit on it for about 3 months. They get their approval immediately. They tell LG, like, the bug fixes. They do, like, a small internal test. Within a couple of weeks, they know that this worked.
And then they do nothing with it.
And they do nothing with it, and they sit on it. So the argument from the manufacturer is, the OEM is, well, okay, so now that you know everything is working fine with your network, you know, maybe there's a radio issue, Wi-Fi, whatever it is, can we push it out? They go, no, you can't push it out.
Yep. And by the way, that company probably sells a lot more phones than Microsoft does with Lumia's. So,
Yeah.
you know, imagine the situation.
You know what was an interesting process? OnePlus did an update from Kit Kat to Lollipop, right? And they're a smaller independent brand that really has no carrier to work with. They don't really work with a carrier. They work on their own. So the over-the-air updates are pushed through them.
Right. Right.
Their
Now, I don't know how it works on them explicitly, but I would imagine those updates probably have to go over Wi-Fi.
They have to go over Wi-Fi. I think you could do it over.
You could.
I don't.
See,
You know what?
honestly,
I
in this
think
day and
so.
age, I don't understand what the difference is. I mean, even a full-blown. I mean, I wouldn't want to do this. So, for example, I could download a complete Windows Phone update. It's probably less than a gigabyte of storage, data transfer, whatever. That's some big percentage of my monthly allotment. I wouldn't want to do it. And I go into my mobile devices and say, only do this stuff over Wi-Fi, explicitly, because I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's not a big loss to the carrier. Because you're going to be paying for it if you use it. So what's the difference?
So with OnePlus, the way that it worked, they had done everything they had passed, but because it's that, what is it, the AOPS? Is that
The Open Android.
Yeah.
It's like AOSP, I think.
AOSP. They have to submit it to Google to get the certification.
Okay.
And that takes about 2 days or a day. But because you're a smaller brand, you're going to have to wait a week.
Right.
So they make you wait a little longer. So what they did, once they got the final approval, they just release it on their website, on their forum. They go, here you go, install it. You'll get the update in like 3 weeks, but if you want it now, there you go. And you know what? That worked. You kind of beta tested on a small group of people, and if they screwed it up, it was their fault because they didn't wait for it.
Right.
You know, it's real world testing. It's a win-win for everybody. You got it before everybody else, and you screwed it up. And the and the manufacturer now knows that, the OEM now knows how to fix this. They'll work on it. It's crazy, the fact that we can't. Can you imagine, Paul? Like, if that was a Windows, like Windows was like that, like Windows would have a a and Verizon,
right. And it would be based on your carrier.
It would be based on your carrier, who gets it and when you get it.
Sure. That's the thing. I think that's inherently the problem. I think people look at how that stuff works on PCs and they're like, I don't understand. For some reason, it's no problem that apps are being updated every day. Apps are the Wild West. They could do anything, right? But the OS, which is made by a trusted entity, your partner, who gives it to you to test? You don't just put that right out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
People are arbitrarily updating their phones every single day. That's no problem at all. But when the OS maker wants to ship something important, typically, that's not going to happen.
There was a camera fix that LG had on this phone, and they pushed it out, and they pushed it out to all the carriers.
Right.
It was a serious problem. I mean, it would overly expose everything, and it was a problem with the ISO. The ISO would be set too high. It was a whole thing. LG knew the problem came out. They fixed the problem. They sent it to the carriers. AT&T, of course, because they're AT&T, they pushed it out first.
They're evil incarnate. Yeah.
They don't care. Verizon waited about 6 to 7 months to push this out until they bundled it with another update. Like, it was almost like, there's a bug fix. Yeah, but it's only one thing. We're not going to bother with this. Let's wait until there's more problems that come up, and then we can push it that way. I mean, now we're in a different world where, these OEMs are bundling it within their software and independent apps. Like Samsung has an app store. so they could do this. But if you don't have your own app store to push an update like that, you can't really do it. I don't know if it does HTC have their own app store to update core functionality. I don't think they do. I think Samsung is one of the few on the Android side. I think Samsung's probably the only one that could really do it because they have like their Galaxy store, you know?
Right.
And they're able to constantly push updates. I mean, I'm getting constant updates to core features like the camera on this thing, or the fitness app was causing some sort of battery drain with the GPS, so they were able to push an update for the GPS through the fitness app.
Right.
So it's possible. You could do this, but who wants to create their own independent store and work that way? It's crazy. Now I'm getting worked up over this. Look at this.
Yeah.
So angry.
Well,
now.
I mean, this is related to the subsidized thing. I mean, it's a big problem.
Listen, guys, just let us do whatever we want to do. If we want to break it, let us break it. If I want to ruin my Lumia because I wanted to push an update, how bad could it possibly be?
And listen, what if I do ruin it?
How does it bother you? Yeah.
Maybe I'll need to buy a new phone.
Yeah. You're making more money that way. Oh boy. All right, Paul. Let's wrap it up. Hey guys, if you're watching live, you can stay tuned. Watch our post show. We do a show called What the Talk that's exclusive on Patreon. Patreon.com/whatthetech. You can fund us there to get access to it. It's exclusively on there. People that fund our Patreon campaign get access to it within 24 hours. It's posted there, and a lot of people have been really into this the last couple shows that we've done. A lot of positive feedback because Paul is doing his Throwback Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. And people are really enjoying these conversations. So go down memory lane and remember what computing was like. People really enjoy it. So if you want to stay tuned, it's absolutely free right now. We're not going to shut off our feed. You can watch it live. And then if you want to catch it archived, you can tip us a quarter, a nickel, a dollar, whatever you want to tip us over at patreon.com/whatthetech. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarin. You can follow Paul at The Rot on Twitter. TheRot.com, all things Paul Thurrott. He also does another phenomenal podcast called Windows Weekly with Mary Jo Foley and Leah Laporte every Wednesday at 2 p.m. East, live on twit.tv. Guys, subscribe to the podcast. We have an audio version, an HD version, and an SD version for people watching on a mobile device. You can subscribe to us everywhere podcasts are available. And we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye for now.